So let's chit chat about flashcard solutions, where there are absolutely a lot of them out there, from AliExpress and of course the original grids with a lot of cool new features, many different ways to play your games on your Sega Genesis. But I've been reviewing all kinds of different models where I must say I didn't review all of them. I do have a couple of them, and I must say the result when having a couple of these devices is quite interesting. So let's find out. So stay tuned and let's go. So when it comes to flashcards, there are a lot of different brands out there, and I mean particularly when it comes to models like the Flashmaster or just this weird Sega Mega Drive 2 flashcard. So this was actually one of the latest ones I've bought and checked out here on the channel. But we're going to be looking at the previous model I already owned for quite a long time. There's not a lot of difference, or at least when it comes to functionalities. That brings us first at the fake basic Everdrives, and I think one of the biggest positive things about this is that these things are like really cheap now. I've been using also the Mega Everdrives, don't mind the case, it's something 3D printed, I just bought it as it is. But this is the original grids version, and this was like a first generation of flashcard that had the option to play all kinds of Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, but also sometimes Sega 32X. You can all load it up through an SD card like this, and was like easy to use. But these things were, let's say, come with a hefty price tag, where the original ones do have like some really cheap solution out there. But yeah, when it comes to, let's say, cheaper flashcards, let's do and take a close look at it, because yeah, I'm just going to be honest, for that $15, maybe $20 you're paying for these things on AliExpress, yeah, that part we can actually not really complain. But let's do a chit chat about both of these. So one of the first AliExpress ones I've picked up is this Mega Everdrive. I want to be pointing out that there are a lot of different ones out there. So different manufacturer, but then the end result is going to be the same. But also selling them like the 3000 one, there's just a flash card with an SD card in it. So it's kind of funny, but also kind of sad that they're trying, wouldn't necessarily deceive, but you know, they're just not saying that it's an Everdrive. With this one, it is. And of course, it doesn't show on the label. So the PCB is completely new, something different, more like a white colored version, something that's kind of interesting. Personally, kinds of different cartridges. This is the translucent blue version, and what I understand of this tiny button is for the Master System when it comes to the pass. The first game is 512 kilobytes, and this is how long it takes to load it up. Right, so it's starting, and it took some time erasing the old 512 kilobyte file, and this is a 2 MB file or 2000 kilobytes, and as you can see, it takes some time to load it up into the chip so we can play. So let's do a side-by-side comparison with the Mega Everdrive of the original grid and the one from AliExpress. And I must point out that my Everdrive is quite old when it comes to this older version, and didn't want to pick up another one because I think this Mega Everdrive, the one from grid, is just fine, or are you actually going to be around that. However, let's do a quick teardown and do a quick overview. Alright, the first one, the original one, don't mind the card itself, it's 3D printed, so it doesn't look very nice. It's a card that somebody took a shit on, or the garbage did the shit out, what you want to call it. Alright, so let's open it up, and I'm going to show you that this is a really original PCB board. So as you can see here, there's just a basic SD slot. Even the sticker they used are, I'm guessing this more like a custom made. But nevertheless, I'm giving this small battery over here that you're going to need, I'm guessing, for the save function. And here you can see it's an original grid edition. Alright, so this is the original one. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the Chinese version. And as you can see, there are not a lot of components on this one. And they're using an Altera Max 2 chip over here. Hope you can see it on the camera. And this is very hard to read even here. So also this one has a battery, so I'm guessing this can be used for saving. Alright, so let's turn it around. So there's nothing much on it. No, not really. Okay, so first we're going to try out the original one, the grid. And let's see how fast this 4 MB file is going to get loaded up into the card itself. Load and start, yes. It's going to raise the old file first. Let's see, rising always takes a couple of seconds. It takes a very long time. And the file you needed to remove was around 420 kilobytes, so it was, let's say, in small edition. Okay, it's reading the file now. It doesn't show anything at the moment. There are some Everdrives giving you this loading bar. I'm thinking little dots means that it's loading. And that's it. Alright, so now it's waiting. Okay, let's see. Alright, so that completes the load up, and if I reset it and I press the stop button, it will instantly load the game. Okay, so we try out the other edition, the other Mega Drive Everdrive, the fake one. So first of all, the Chinese fake edition has a totally different menu. Alright, so the same file is going to get erased. The older one, I have really no clue what kind of file it was. But erasing need to have the same amount of time most of the time. It's more important how long also does it load up. It's a 4 megabyte, one of the biggest files. Normally we're having 2 game cartridges. Don't forget it that we're having the Knuckle game and the Sonic 3 game. And as you can see, this is going to take up quite some time. Alright, it's done, so we can play some games. So as you can see, the Chinese version is not really fast. But the question is it faster or slower than the original one? So let's do a side-by-side comparison. But despite we're having 2, let's say, slow loading Everdrives, you can actually see at the left with the Mega Drive, the original one that is quite old, it still loads the game faster. Same kind of file, but that's kind of interesting if you're going to be doing a side-by-side comparison. But the loading times are still quite long. But that's something when you take consideration when you're getting a very cheap, let's say, flash card like this. So if you're having the option to buy an original crit, I will always do that personally. But yeah, if you just want to, let's say, play a couple of games and you don't want to spend a lot amount of money, I think when it comes to these, let's say, cheaper flash card, that would be one of those interesting options. Yeah, for 15 or 20, let's say, dollars, you cannot really go wrong, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments what do you think of these really cheap things. I would always love to read it back. However, if you don't want, let's say, wait for your games to load up, nowadays we do have all kinds of different solutions like the Mega X7 and of course the Mega Everdrive Pro. And yeah, both of them do have like some positive and negative sides when it comes to that. So first of all, let's do a little bit of a chit chat about both options. So when you're going to be looking at an idea is actually like the Pro, this is like if you want to spend some serious amount of money, get yourself a grid like the Mega Everdrive Pro. And this thing has some really cool features. You can even have the option to play Sega CD from a cartridge. So that's absolutely insane. And what I understand, this was a kind of an FPGA technology using. So in my opinion, this was absolutely the ultimate, but also the next level. However, of course, the Chinese ripped, I must say they made something, yeah, let's say they made something similar. They also like to need to rip off something, and this way it's going to be the Mega X7 Everdrive. And this particular model also comes in a very fancy box, and it does have some similarities. For example, having the option to make a quick load, quick save and stuff like that. We can even also play Sega 32X games, but again, you could actually do that with these cheaper things too, but here we need to load it up. And it will take sometimes almost forever, so you can get yourself a cup of tea. And with this particular model, it's still loading. It says like instant load, I'm not agreeing with that, but I will show you later on what I mean. But this thing does have like a way faster loading times when it comes to that. Okay, so let's take a close look at the Mega X7 Everdrive. So first thing that I already noticed is like this comes in a very nice case. It's not like 100% quality, the same like an original Sega cartridge box, but it's getting way better. I have seen myself like a lot of different multi-game cards and other kind of crazy stuff with, let's see, these boxes, and a lot of them were really bad quality. But this Mega X7 Lite edition was quite surprising. But let's plug it in and I will show you what I mean. Simple. You can just rename all of the folders if you're going to be putting your SD card inside of a computer. However, in here I think the Master System list that actually just has the option also to play Master System games. I don't use any converter at this moment. So let's say Double Dragon, we want to boot it up, pressing A twice, and that will boot up into the Master System game. That seems to be all working fine as it is. So that's kind of cool that we do have this feature with this particular model already, that we don't need the converter anymore. So let's see if the buttons are mapped like it should be. That seems to be all working just fine. But let's see, in the main menu, pressing start will automatically boot up into the last game you have played. And at this point, because it's instant loading, you really don't need anything going on when it comes to that. Pressing reset will reset the game system, as you can see over here. It does have less a bleeping sound. Okay. Let's turn it on and off and we'll bring you back to the main menu itself. If you're back into the main menu, you can press the C button on your controller, getting into the main menu itself. So pressing A, we're going to the options. So here you can see the game region where my system has been set to now at the moment. The Mega Key state, we have in-game menu, mapper, and then we're having reset the game itself. Okay, reset the game is off actually, so you can change it out. We're having options to enter game GD cheats if you want to. We're having run CD, and the CD add-on is not detected. But again, there's an option you can actually do. So if you want to run the CD add-on, you can actually do that. Put your games in and play through there. System information, firmware version, and everything else. The system type is over here, Japan PAL. And if you're going to be looking into here, you can actually switch it out if you want to in the different region. So we're going to do all kinds of cool stuff, which you can see over here, and the about page itself. But how about the quick load, quick save? So let's say we're going to be into the game itself. So what you need to do is pressing start and down, pop up the extra in-game menu. I already made a save file, load it up. But the downside is that it sounds kind of weird. It still remembers the last part where it was. So that part is not like it's supposed to be, because it's just actually using the main menu. So let's make a quick save again. So let's save it here. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is resetting the system. Yeah, okay, so it was giving me an error when it comes to that, but that doesn't seem to be working. And maybe that has to do because I messed it up when it comes to the region. Yeah, I messed it up when it comes to that. My mistake. So that's another thing, if you're going to be loading up these things, yeah, what you're going to be needing to do is getting the right file. Ah, crap, I accidentally used the European version, my mistake. But let's get into the Japan USA version, select start, and let's see if it's going to be booting up. Everything has been set right, including the console itself, because the console can also change it out with different kind of region. This is not like the improved version, but you know, it's great still to just check it out. Oh man, there's a long time I've been playing that. But yeah, as they promised, we can actually play some 32 weeks. So far I know like those $15, $20-ish, let's say, cartridges also had this option. How much messing, like which button do I need to press? Oh, the pixelated characters. Oh, I totally forgot how awful this freaking thing was. Oh. But if you wonder, can you do actually a quick load, quick save? No, there is no menu. So that actually menu only works for the Sega Genesis Mega Drive games. So there's a little bit of a downside when it comes to that. Man, this game's so cool. Oh! I'm getting always my ass kicked in these games. So the Mega X7 Lite Ultra, I think this costs around like $89. Don't pay me on it, because the prices can be changed like up and down. It's absolutely nuts, but still, it's like, I would say like half price. I think it's more than half the price when it comes to this particular model, the Mega Everdrive Pro. But yeah, when it comes to the Mega Drive Pro, yeah, this is one of those devices that I am very happy to own. Even I paid a lot of money for it. So first of all, what I love about these, like, it comes with a very nice manual explaining everything about how you need to set it up and everything else. In my opinion, everybody can do is having the right manual. And yeah, the quality is just, yeah, let's see the case. Yeah, the case is absolutely better quality. But beside that, like when you're going to be looking at everything, the print, I love this pattern when it comes to the, let's say, semi-glossy. I said this looks absolutely great. However, so the Mega Everdrive Pro, this was just one of those very cool things. And just the case, everything, it's just like super quality. And I think that's what you're going to be paying for. However, let's plug it in and let's do a little bit of chit chat about the feature itself. But if you're going to be setting everything up like it should be, like the manual says, this is what you're going to be getting. So what you see are the folders I've made myself. So you have, for example, having 32X, we having European files, then we set to alphabetic order. You can actually make all kinds of folder inside of folders. Favorite, Genesis, I have made hex, having the Japanese region, my system games, new games, and of course the Sega CD games. So with Sega CD games, what you need to take consideration if you're going to be loading into this, it's going to be quite a little of a hassle. For example, having Cadillac and Dinosaurs, I realize this is an ISO and this is not going to be working. If you're going to be getting into a game, so let's say BC Racers, you're going to be starting it up and now it will actually ask you if you want to start it up by pressing A. But let's go back. So there are a lot of cool things you can do with it. For example, if you want to get into menu over here, pressing C, we have options, recently played, sheets, system folder, device information, diagnostics, and about. But let's get into the diagnostics. If you have any problems, you have some weird things going on, you can just check your system if anything is going to be wrong with it. And there's one of the very cool ways. You can just check it fairly easy. And if you're going to be waiting a little bit longer, it also checks out how fast is your SD card. I'm just using a Philips, I think it's a 64 gigabyte, I already mentioned that. But this is actually the speeds. And of course, I don't know how far you can push it and what kind of benefit you will have if you're going to be having like a SanDisk Ultra or something else. So one of the cool features about this is the options. So this is a very extended product. So in here we're having the in-game menu, you can shut it on and off. Mega key, cheats, we're having the SMS BIOS, you can turn it on and off. Last game auto boot, you can turn it on and off. Teams, that's actually the picture you're seeing over there. File sorting and the warning, Mega CD options, in-game combo. So in-game combo, here you can just say like what kind of combinations you want to have, like a quick load, quick save, and that works quite good. And that's all kind of cool stuff, and the RTC setup. So in here we can find all kinds of stuff and we can have a lot of options that we don't have with those cheap things. It's kind of cool, they also have a recently playlist, system folder, when we can get into the system folder over here. That is something you don't really want to mess with and that's not going to be needing. And of course the about, this actually showcases made in Ukraine and everything about the Mega Everdrive Pro. Loading up the game is quite similar to, let's say, the other stuff that we have seen before. Going to favorites. So if you're going to be loading up something already that's in the system, you can press start, it will automatically boot up. But let's say I want to play Street of Rage Syndicate Wars, one of my favorite hacks of Street of Rage. So we have cheats, game data, ROM info, configure, hex view, and we can just actually delete it if you want to do that. So pressing start, and what I love about these things, they automatically instantly load up. Doesn't even matter how big the file is. So that's actually how it is when playing this. This is, by the way, one of my favorite ones because you can actually play with all kinds of characters. This is so freaking cool. Most of the time I just love to play with Shiva, but you can get yourself like an other character you want to, like the final boss of the wrestling guy I really hate, but it's a lot of fun to play actually with him. I think that's one of the cool things of the Everdrive, but again, you can just do this with cheaper cards if you want to. It's all depending what you want to do with this particular, let's say, game or games, and of course what you want to do with Everdrive. But let's try the quick load, quick save. So let's hold start and press down. And it goes a little bit messed up. It's, by the way, in fly on my screen, by the way, but doesn't matter, let's continue. But this is a save file of Shiva when I was playing with it. So that's kind of cool. You can actually see that we made a load and it seems to be working. Let's go back to the menu, or actually the first start. It sounds a little bit messed up in the beginning, but beside that, it works like a charm. So the next thing I wanted to do is go into the master system. So let's load up the folder. So let's just randomly pick a game. So Ace of the Ace Europe, nah. Let's go with the Alex kit, Miracle Wonder, having different regions. And we're just pressing start and it will automatically boot up. It will take a little bit of time, a couple of seconds. And in this way we can just fairly easy boot up into the master system. And I think that's kind of cool, where the converters are not like super expensive now. You can just pick them up from AliExpress. So, but still, this isn't very cool extra, let's say, novelty you can just do with this out of the box. So besides the Mega CD that we can actually play a Sega Master System without any problem. But everything has been configured like the manual says. You go to the Sega CD folder, or the folder you want to call. So what you can do is just boot up into the game like normal. Like I said, with the same menu. Here we can implement cheats. We can look into the same kind of information like with the normal ROM files. We can even open the folder where you can see all of the files, and just double press A, boot up the game, and it will automatically load up. Games are here, but they are like really fast. And again, for me, like playing through, let's say, the Mega Everdrive Pro is such a cool, fun experience. However, yeah, still for me, the full nostalgia will be having the full Tower of Power and just using a physical CD when it comes to that. However, this is just a super easy way to play my game through, let's say, a different clone system that doesn't have the option to play the Sega CD or Mega CD games. And still nothing. Oh my god. Yes, yes, it seems to be working. You don't have this issue if you're going to be having a US or a Japan version, because that is, so far I understand, you can actually use all kinds of 60 Hz games. So yeah, this is just an example that you can just play these games. So let's boot it up. Now we're going to be having a little bit of squeezed screen with the simple reason because we're using the PAL. But that is just a very cool thing. You can just play everything with the Mega Everdrive Pro. And I think the cool add-on is the Sega CD. Is he going to be shooting ice? No, he's sliding. I knew it. The Mega Everdrive Pro is such an interesting piece of technology, and this will elevate my personal experience with, let's say, playing my Sega Tower of Power absolutely to the next level. However, yeah, the Sega CD function, personally I will not really use it. I just want to play Sega CD through my Sega CD, but if you don't want to do that, yeah, this will be a very cool way to play. Instant loading and a lot of cool features, including like quick load, quick save. It's absolutely a blast to the past with a little bit of an extra. But however, if you don't care about the Sega CD stuff and you don't use the quick load, quick save, but you want to have a little bit faster loading, the Mega X7, let's say the Ultra, would be another very cool way to play. And this thing, yeah, also with 32X, is absolutely a way better solution. Alright, so but how about the cheap ones? So the cheap are like fun. You know, if you have one of these laying around, you know, yeah, this will be a very interesting way to play. Or maybe you can get yourself your hands on an older Mega Drive, Everdrive from Grid. You also have these open source things now. So there are a lot of cheap official ways, a little bit more expensive, but it's like a safer route because these things are like really nice quality. But if you just want to play and you don't care about waiting, this is going to be a very cheap other way to play. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite way to play when it comes to flashcards. And it will be great to see you in the next video.